Good evening, and welcome to the 2028 presidential debate. We have been waiting for this moment for a long time. However, since it is 2028, we are not televising this stuff anymore. We're using the best medium and the most popular medium there is, a podcast. Well, there have been a lot of controversial topics that you, the citizens, have submitted, including affordable housing, climate change, when the Bell Hall Cafe will open, polarization, and parking at UNC. We have decided to cover one main topic today. Tonight's topic is one that affects millions of students and early career professionals: unpaid internships. Are unpaid internships a necessary gateway to opportunity or an unethical practice that entrenches inequality? To explore this question, we are joined by two candidates. First, we have the incumbent President Jaden.
Hello everyone, pleasure to be here and excited for a good debate tonight.
Next up, we have the newcomer, Senator Sid.
Hello everybody, I'm also very excited. Let's get it started.
Tonight, both candidates will address whether unpaid internships can be ethical and how they fail. Let's start with some context. Unpaid internships are common in industries such as media, politics, nonprofits, entertainment, and public policy. According to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, roughly 40 to 45% of internships in the US are unpaid, and these are significantly more common in nonprofit and government sectors. Research shows that unpaid internships are more accessible to students from higher income backgrounds and less accessible to first-generation and low-income students. With the context in mind, let's open the debate with the question from the audience.
Hi, my name is Cash. I'm a college student, and I just got an internship at a well-known company, but it isn't paid. I'm excited about the experience, but worried about the financial strain. What do you think about unpaid internships? Are they ethical?
Thank you for the question. I think we have to look at this through the utilitarian lens of ethics. I personally believe that unpaid internships are unethical because they cause more harm than good for students. Let's look at an example of a kid that goes to UNC from Charlotte, getting an internship in New York City, the big New York City, every UNC student's dream. But here's the caveat: the internship is unpaid. Now they have to figure out expenses like rent, food, transportation costs, all outside of the hours of the internship that they're already working. This causes stress and can ultimately lead to some students not even being able to take the internship.
Yeah, well, I hear that, Jaden, and agree that those harms do exist. But utilitarianism really requires us to consider all consequences, including positive consequences, also known as benefits. Unpaid internships can provide valuable skill building and networking opportunities. According to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, students who complete internships, even unpaid ones, are more likely to receive job offers than students who do not intern at all. I really appreciate your example of a kid from Charlotte getting an internship in New York City, but let's think about the actual internship. Think about a student, trying to break into journalism or public policy, where experience is required before anyone will even consider hiring you. Some people even like to joke that you need 20 years of experience right out of college. If unpaid internships improve long-term career prospects, they may increase overall utility in the long run.
I see your point, Senator, and I know that you're a smart guy, so I know that you can also understand that unpaid internships exclude low-income students. Let's look at that kid from Charlotte going to New York City, and let's add the stipulation that this kid is a first-gen student. Let's just say both his parents are immigrants, and they're a low-income family. Now that kid definitely has no chance of taking that internship. They can't go the entire summer without earning money and working for themselves, let alone they might be working for their family. We have to take these into consideration when we're talking about the topic of unpaid internships.
Yeah, Mr. President, but banning unpaid internships entirely could eliminate opportunities altogether, especially in nonprofits and small organizations that can't afford to pay interns. If these internships disappear, fewer students gain experience, and sometimes these organizations that provide social value may suffer. For example, let's take a small community nonprofit that provides legal aid or tutoring. These may rely on interns to stay afloat. And if these unpaid interns disappear, their services may disappear as well. And this reduces overall social utility.
See, I think that's where we disagree because normalizing unpaid internships can lower wages across the board, leading to a decrease in utility as a whole. Think about the kid going to Charlotte. Let's just say that they're interning at the prestigious JP Morgan, and JP Morgan only offers unpaid internships. Everyone's still going to intern at JP Morgan because that's such a prestigious name, and getting that on your resume is an amazing accomplishment. But everybody's going to do their best job to earn that return offer. Because they did such a great job, the CEO at JP Morgan on their quarterly earnings call is going to think, okay, we got all this unpaid work that did such a great job. Now we can, maximize profit and decrease the analyst positions and their pay because these interns are doing similar work to them for zero cost at all. Once that happens, this decreases the utility of the ecosystem as a whole, which goes against the utilitarian lens as a whole once again, making unpaid internships unethical in my view.
I see where you're coming from. I agree that, unpaid internships aren't ideal. But when you think about utilitarianism, greatest good for the greatest number, it still forces us to weigh imperfect options. In some cases, unpaid internships may still produce more total benefit than having no internships at all.
A spirited debate for sure. Utilitarianism isn't the only lens of ethics that this can be evaluated through. What about the deontology lens?
Thank you, moderator. I'm really glad that you brought this up because I believe that from Kant's point of view, the deontology lens, unpaid internships are absolutely ethical. Deontology asks whether an action can be universally applied and whether it treats people as ends in themselves, not merely as a means. If a company truly could not afford paid interns and unpaid internships are structured as educational experiences, places to learn instead of just free labor, then in that view, interns are not being used as mainly a means to reduce costs. Let's visualize this. Let's imagine an internship where students mostly observe, they attend trainings, and receive mentorship, like shadowing a judge or sitting in on policy meetings. If the organization isn't using interns to replace paid workers, like we thought about in the previous example, then interns are not being treated as a means to reduce costs.
That's a great point, and that example really does make sense, but we have to think unpaid internships fail the universality test. If everyone were required to do unpaid internships, most people could not afford to participate. So it can't be ethical in the deontology lens. On top of that, Kant argues that ethical rules cannot depend on socioeconomic status. Again, we're going back to this kid from Charlotte, from this first-gen family. Because he comes from a lower socioeconomic background, he cannot be excluded from the ethical practice of unpaid internships. This would go against the whole lens of Kant ethics. This kid is equal to any other kid vying for internships, and they should not be excluded because of their familial background.
Yeah, I do see where you're coming from, but think about deontology again, and this really allows unpaid internships only when the interns are genuinely learners. Interns still require training, supervision, mentorship. If you're an organization, a lot of the time you don't even want to have interns because they are costly, right? They are costly, and organizations are truly making investments in them, right? These organizations that have the capital to do this are making sure that they're investing in them as people and investing in people who are going to be great learners. They are not just extracting value. And as long as these expectations are clear up front, which most companies are clear with that, right? They are publishing the salary or promise of no pay up front. They're talking about, any claims about future jobs. They're not trying to mislead you. And if all these considerations are true and all of these follow, which several internships, unpaid internships do, they are ethical under deontology.
Sid, that makes sense, but we have to look at the categorical imperative. These opportunities treat unpaid interns as a means to reduce labor costs, not as people themselves. If we truly cared about them as people and we wanted these to be ethical opportunities, we would take care of them financially so that they can truly be the best version of themselves. Think about yourself. If you were working a job that did not pay you and you had bills, you had to feed yourself, maybe feed others, you would work under a lot more stress and not truly be the best version of yourself when you're working. If you got paid for these opportunities and were able to work freely with food on your stomach, knowing everything's taken care of, you're going to operate in a better headspace, and science proves that. Lastly, the argument of paying an exposure slash experience is not quantifiable. You can't do this for everybody. There might be some kids who gain more exposure than others, just naturally being more extroverted. There might be kids who have different experiences based on the type of people they are. Someone might be more willing to do dirty work and therefore get more experience as a whole than somebody who wants to learn the kinds of ins and outs of a specific system. Again, there's no way to really quantify this because there's not a true measure that can measure across the board like monetary value does. There's no way to truly quantify how someone experiences something compared to someone else. And again, from my lens, that's just unethical as a whole.
Time's up. Time's up. Wow, that was a great back and forth between the two candidates. These two ethical lenses really evaluate unpaid internships in fundamentally different ways. Utilitarianism focuses on outcomes and is willing to tolerate harm if overall welfare increases, as we saw with Senator Sid's views, while deontology prioritizes fairness and universality and rejects trade-offs that violate human dignity and needs everyone to follow it. However, both frameworks ultimately converge in practice, concluding that unpaid internships are unethical when they exclude low-income students or treat interns as a means to reduce costs. What we have left is the closing statement from both sides. Let's start with President Jaden first.
Thank you all again. Sid, it was a great debate, and I believe that in 4 years' time, when I'm done with both of my terms and I ultimately win this race, you're going to be a great pick. But again, unpaid internships cannot be ethical, both from the utilitarian lens and the deontology lens. There are many children, as the moderator stated, that will be excluded from unpaid opportunities because of their familial background, many times of which has nothing to do with them. Excluding those kids because of circumstances outside of themselves certainly feels unethical to me, and I feel that both lenses should convince America the same.
Great points. Thank you, President Jaden. Now, let's hear from Senator Sid.
Thank you. That was a good debate, Jaden, and I appreciate it. I'm sure I'll be learning a lot from you as I, step into the office. But here's where I stand. Unpaid internships can be ethical under some circumstances. When designed poorly, they exploit students, which is true. But when designed carefully, they do offer real learning.
Thank you both. At its core, this debate has examined whether unpaid internships are ethically defensible. We analyzed this question through two normative lenses: utilitarianism, which evaluates actions based on their consequences in the total good for the people, and deontology, which evaluates actions based on fairness and universality. As we saw from the debate, from a utilitarian perspective, unpaid internships are sometimes defended on the grounds that they create opportunities. They may provide skill development that improves long-term employment outcomes. Additionally, unpaid internships do allow nonprofits and organizations with smaller and lower budgets to continue operating and offering positive services. However, when we consider aggregate welfare and the total good for the people, which is the foundation for utilitarianism, these benefits are usually outweighed by the cons. Unpaid internships impose significant financial strain on interns, which disproportionately excludes low-income and first-generation students. These also normalize low wages across several industries, which could reduce the overall social utility and welfare of the people. Now let's shift gears a little bit. Under deontology, while unpaid internships could theoretically be ethical if they were truly educational and accessible, most real-world internships fail these conditions. In practice, interns are usually used as a means to reduce costs. As we have seen in this debate, there has been quite a good bit about tension about the ethicality of this debate, but this can be reduced. For utilitarianism, once you look beyond the short-term benefits and account for the long-term, system-wide harms like exclusion and inequality show that unpaid internships fail to maximize overall well-being. For deontology, even if interns consent, it doesn't matter if it cannot be universalized, or if companies end up treating people as a means rather than an ends. In the end, unpaid internships may open doors for some, but close doors for others. The listeners have voted and come to the conclusion that unpaid internships are unethical. Thank you for listening and catch us next time where we will examine the ethicality of changing the UNC logo.